There is a 780-page book or 800-page book. I don't remember, but it's guaranteed over 700. It's written by a historian, polymath. His name is Sami Amiri. So he's a
Oh yeah,
Tunisian
I
Muslim
know him.
scholar
Yeah, I know him.
specialized in New Testament studies, specialized in Islamic history, Quranic studies, Hadith studies. He has, too many qualifications. He's completely fluent in Greek, Latin, Hebrew, Aramaic, Syriac, Arabic, German, French, Italian. The whole list goes on, and I'm not exaggerating. You can check him out. So he wrote a whole book in Arabic uh, called هل القرآن اقتبس من كتب اليهود والنصارى. Did the Quran plagiarize from
Oh,
the scriptures or the books of the Jews and the Christians? And that whole book is just about that. In there, he covers the historical context of Arabia. He covers what are the chances that Muhammad did that, what would be the requirements to construct essentially something like the Quran if Muhammad were to do that. He goes over, the accusations that it took from the Talmud. He goes over the accusations that it took from the apocryphal books. He goes over the accusations that it took from the, classical biblical writings, the four gospels, Pauline epistles, or the what is it called, the Hebrew Bible, or for example, how it took from the Midrash or the Mishnah. He covers all of these things one by one. Or he'll talk about how the Quran allegedly uh, plagiarizes from essentially ancient legends, such as the famous Dhul Qarnayn,
uh, uh,
or
uh,
the story of the people at Ephesus. Okay, can you hear me? Hello,
yeah,
hello.
you was lagging a little
Can you
bit.
hear me? Yeah, or the story of the
We
sleepers of the cave at
yeah,
Ephesus. Yeah. So
oh, okay.
that if you read Arabic, you can pick up that book. Now the thing is, if you want to, man, it's really hard to like find a book in English that addresses just the plagiarism. Or what I'm trying to say is the problem with these things is there aren't books, but there are a lot of articles that cover this case by case. So if I can give you some, I don't have too many off the top of my head, but just to go back to the first question concerning uh, pre-Islamic Arabia, just the religious or historical context, or the Christians in pre-Islamic Arabia. So first, there was a book just recently, very, very recently, I'm talking this year, that was just published by Brill, that talks about the Christian community at Najran, specifically like 200 martyrs, some story that took place, and it's in French. I don't know what your native language is. Maybe you can read
No,
French, can you?
I'm not,
Okay.
I don't
No,
know
no, no,
French.
no problem. I don't know French either. Then if you can't do that book, there is another book by Brill that was published by Ahmed Jalad. Now, this one comes with a exclusive archaeological approach, and that's kind of the objective of the book. What can we know about pre-Islamic Arabia just through archaeological evidence, specifically inscriptions on rocks, leaves, uh, bones, and it's called yeah, Safavidic inscriptions or whatever. That was published by Ahmed Jalad in 2022. And there he talks about the beliefs of the Arabs from the 2nd century CE all the way to the early 7th century, so right before Muhammad became a prophet. He talks about how they used sacrifices, their culture, what they used to believe, how they used to what they call it, govern themselves, some of their cultural practices that have to do with death. Do they celebrate it? Do they do something special on that day? What do they think of marriage? So there's that book. That book is short. That book is not that long. It's 200-ish pages. It's really not that long. Then there is a very comprehensive book, too comprehensive. It's about 5 or 6 volumes. It's called Arabs and Byzantium, or Arabs and the Byzantine Empire, by Iran Rashid or something Rashid or Rashid, whatever his name was. It's a blue cover, okay, like very thick book, each one of them, and one of the volumes is like in 3 parts. And in there he just talks about essentially Arabs and their interactions primarily with Rome. So that talks about Syria, mostly Syria, talks about Egypt, talks about Mesopotamia, modern day Iraq, talks about Persia a little bit, and it just shows how the Arab community was navigating amongst the Christian world. Okay. That's number 2. But I don't think you need to read that. That is way too long for you to get what you want. I think what you need,
Yeah.
okay, is just read. Believe it or not, the ultimate solution to this is actually just reading the biography of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, because it all hinges on this really stupid idea. So, which now we'll touch on your second question. So let's just say that you said they say that he went between Medina and Mecca to talk to Christians and learn from them. طيب. So they know that he migrated. They know that there is a group of Christians in that particular area, even though there wasn't in Mecca. There wasn't. Okay, it's almost not existent. In fact, if anything, there were a little bit of Jews there, but not Christians at all. Medina has a decent amount of Christians, but a lot more Jews. But those are not the main populated cities with Christians. But that doesn't matter. Let's just keep going down the line. What I'm trying to get at is they're saying that he went to Medina. They're saying that Medina had Christians. They're saying that they were learned in the scriptures, or there were like physical copy of the text, which is fine. I believe that as well. I'm telling you how the early Christian sources don't mention any of this gibberish nonsense that the Orientalists talk about.
Yeah.
And one thing that is, I think, the make or break idea. Let's just say the entire Sirah is fake and whatnot. You need to remember that most people could not read. So to have like this mass accessibility is nonsensical.
We were speaking about the fact that the closest tradition or community was in Medina, of the Christians. And
yeah, but hold on. You know, there's like lots of layers too many layers of assumptions behind this Medina community. So again, you need to remember a couple of things. Okay, let's just say 50% of Medina was Christian. Okay, let's go that far. Fine, okay. How many of them could read? That's number 2. Number 3, how many of them had access to these books? Number 4, how many of them actually had possessions of these books and had the privilege of studying it and reading it? Number 5, who the hell wants to give it to a person who's claiming to be a prophet that is against their religion? Why would they give it to him? Number 6, why would it also be there, of all places? Why is it located there? In non-Arabic, mind you, in non-Arabic. And not a single record, again, records any of these layers that we're just mentioning. So merely a lot of Christians being in Medina, by the way, is not enough. I'm saying there's multiple layers for it. Even if you grant 100% of Medina was Christian, there's too many assumptions that need to be built upon.
what did they say? Oh yeah, there was this library from Waraqa bin Nawfal, so therefore he took it from there.
Do you know of any library in 7th century Arabia, or 6th century Arabia, or 4th century Arabia, or 5th century Arabia? Do you know of any library? Please enlighten me. I'd like to know.
Zero. There's nothing.
I'd like to know. Any? Nothing.
Yeah,
Zero.
nothing.
Dude, it's a desert. It's a desert. These people,
Yeah.
that, you know, their problem is they don't touch grass. If these people walked outside and actually experienced real life, they'd realize like all of this is being said from the comfort of their own home, with mommy and daddy petting them on their own head, and they're probably like blasting music in their earbuds, and they're sitting there, you know, sucking on Capri Sun or apple juice or whatever, and just thinking about how to criticize Islam. And they come up with all these stupid hypotheticals that they themselves could never endure if we were to put them in that same scenario that they're thinking about. Talk about, oh yeah, I'm going to compile the Quran, I'm going to learn, 20 different languages, and I'm going to learn all the manuscripts, and I'm going to travel all around the world, and I'm going to learn from this scholar and that scholar and this scholar and that scholar, and my family is going to get attacked, and my friends are going to get attacked, but it's okay, I'm not going to get depressed, I'm not going to be sad, and these people are trying to attack me, and they want to take my life and take my soul, but I'm not scared, I'm just a robot. I'm going to keep running, I don't get tired, I don't need calories, I don't need sleep, I just run, and I'm a millionaire who has all these all these dollars to go ahead and buy manuscripts after manuscripts, which is a very expensive product back then. And I'm hiring all these scribes to translate all these books for me, and then have it sit down, and I write it in an organized manner while I'm running for my life and traveling from city to city, and engaging in conquest. Yes.
All your books are hardcover, right? It has to be.
I think it's a criminal offense to buy
Soft cover.
soft covers. If I was a Khalifa, I'd make it illegal to print soft covers. To get back to it now, subhanAllah, I forgot the question. Yeah, which is they cherry pick certain narratives of the Sirah, and then they don't want to believe the rest of it. So I think the easiest ways to refute it is you just look at the biography of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and just show them how there wasn't opportunities for him to do that, and you start naming examples why. Or how you can go about it is, I don't trust everybody to do this, but if you can, then it's good and it's fun. It's really fun. What you can do is read Orientalist books that try to dismantle Islam, but you put a Muslim spin on it. What do I mean? So there's books that were dedicated towards talking about the plagiarism theory of the biblical books about the Quran. One of the earliest books that was published was in 1936 by William St. Clair Tistel. Okay, William Tistel St. Clair. I forgot his name. I think it's William St. Clair Tistel. He wrote a book in 1936 called The Original Sources of the Quran. And in there, he tries to bring out, this was like way early on when Orientalists were still new to the topic. He goes ahead and tries to bring all the sources that the Quran might have borrowed from or quoted. Okay? And he explains he must have gotten it from this, and he must have traveled there, and he must have traveled here, must have traveled there, and must have learned it from this person, and learned it from that person, and picked up this language. And he tries to give justifications as to how that happened. Now, what you can do is literally read all of this and just say, this is all the requirements that it needs to compose the Quran. And it is utterly impossible. And that is exactly what the Orientalists say. Since they don't believe Allah was the one who constructed, or better said, was the one who spoke the Quran, since they don't believe that, they have to come to very normal human behavior explanations, very natural explanations. So you know what they ended up doing? They said, for the Quran to be constructed, this Quran that we have, the way it is shaped, for something like that to be done, it is a project that is about 200 years long, that requires millions and millions and millions of dollars. And they said that it was not until the middle of the Abbasid Empire that the Quran was finalized. They were still learning the Talmud, they were still learning the Mishnah, they were picking up on Hebrew, they were picking up on Latin, they were picking up on Greek, they had to learn some Ethiopic texts and language, because the Quran uses some quote-unquote foreign words. And so they say the entire Umayyad Empire was like full-blown propaganda, especially under the reign of Abd al-Malik bin Marwan, rahimahullah, and then it was finalized under the middle phase of the Abbasid Caliphate. So that you like, when you start thinking about how insane that sounds, okay, you realize like this is the stupidest thing ever. And that's exactly what happened when the Orientalists discovered that there is 1st century Hijri, so 7th century manuscripts of the Quran, some of them that go all the way back to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They're like, yeah, we can't hold to this position anymore. We know now it's not finalized during the Abbasid period. Because it's not merely the fact that the Quranic text existed before, it's also the shape. What the Quran said at that time is exactly what the Abbasid period said. So they cross-referenced it. They said, yeah, the Abbasids didn't add anything.
I mean, the thing that Orientalists say, they say, oh yeah, they are trying to, like, they make an assumptions that these people are like actors. Like they say, oh, they're
Yeah, they're
trying
liars.
to,
Yeah. That's the
yeah,
stupidity behind their method. Yeah, they think everybody's lying for some stupid motive.
yeah.
You know that in that approach, which is like everybody's a liar until proven otherwise, collapses the nature of testimony, because now you can't tell when somebody's telling the truth, because for you, him being honest can be a lie in of itself, and a lie could be a lie in of itself. Like he could lie about a lie, which is a truth, but then you can't know that, right? Because you're always thinking that he's lying.
Yeah.
So this is called the liar's paradox,
It's
and
from the
a
minimalist
lot of these
schools.
people have no literacy in any like common sense or philosophical thinking. Almost all of them, from what I've seen, fall into the liar's paradox. They don't know how to distinguish truth from false, and that's what's funny, by the way, when they come to construct arguments about the life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or arguments about the Quran or oral tradition, you will find them using those same sources that they reject to go ahead and build a case on it. For example, they'll say, oh, look, a reason why we believe Muslims, tend to be liars and they'll fabricate for the sake of making Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam look better than they were, is because a lot of hadith were fabricated. And then when you tell them, how do you know a lot of hadith were fabricated? And they'll tell you, oh, look, this Muslim scholar and that Muslim scholar and that Muslim scholar said this from that early period. Yeah, but why don't you think he's lying about that? And that's where you like step on their head. Well, why don't you think they're lying about that? Why do you believe their testimony? What if they're lying about the Muslims fabricating? What if these scholars are actually frauds? They just want to make the Muslims look bad. You could flip it like that. You could flip it exactly like that. Or when they say, we can't trust these hadith because a lot of them were biased and they had religious, ideological, or political motivations. The typical example they'll bring is the Umayyad Empire, pro Ali
Yeah.
or pro Muawiyah, or anti Ali, anti Muawiyah hadith fabrications. And you tell them, okay, how do you know all of that took place? They go to Muslim sources, and they will use these same people who talk about the Prophet Muhammad. They'll use these same people to criticize Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the way that they like, even though these
And
same
I think
people attest to
actually,
the historicity of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And on the thing you said about like pro Muawiyah, in that same time there were many like hadith that were going about propaganda, and those same scholars would reject
Denounced
many
it.
of them. Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah. So
That's why Wa'il Hallaq, he wrote like an essay paper about hadith studies and like the Orientalist schools or Oriental studies. He calls it a pseudo problem.
yeah,
Big fat
he's a
title.
Christian, right?
Yeah. He's a Lebanese Christian. He's a Malkite, like an Arab Catholic Malkite. He wrote a article, big fat title right in front of your face, and he discusses the whole entire problem. It's called, I think, issues in hadith studies a pseudo problem, or Orientalism and hadith studies a pseudo problem. He literally calls it a pseudo problem, and the whole thing, the main thesis behind it is, look, you guys are worried. What if this guy had religious reasons to lie? What if this guy was like politically inclined? What if this guy, he grew up and he became old and he lost his memory? And he tells them, you guys are trying to redo all of the job of the muhaddithin that they already did it for you. Every question that you guys asked, they already did it. What the hell's wrong with you guys? Why are you trying to redo the whole thing from front to back? It's stupid and a waste of time. And that's why exactly he calls it a pseudo problem.
Yeah. Have you read that paper, Akhi, or
Huh?
read that?
To some extent, I'd like to go over the whole thing, but no.
Yeah.
Not
Even like scholars like I don't know if you know, like Metzger, like they refute all the theories from like Schacht. They say that oral
Metzger?
tradition. I think Metzger.
You
I'm
mean
not
Motsky?
sure.
Harold Motsky?
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. He's more of he's the more popular
Yeah, he's a
Orientalist view on Hadith
traditionalist.
today. He really changed the game. The Hadith tradition or Hadith corpus is looked at very differently because of Motsky, and now you have George Shula, who came about, but Nabi Abbott was before him, who kind of started that movement. I don't know. I'm sure you know him. The best one who started that very destructive chaos against Shacht was Al-Adami.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
I wanna read his books, inshallah.